my hair combed or makeup on. I said I would. I'm crazy.
Now we're live. Now we're
Well,
live.
hello.
So it's great to have you come on with me. I'll have to admit I don't have the noster thing work. I've got it.
I haven't even tried to go on it. I got too many irons in the fire currently.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be on now. It was if I set it up right. Um, so I'm broadcasting to a noster nest. There's nobody in there right now. Probably won't be because I'm so exciting. But I don't know how. I'm going to have to get with Josh and ask him how he simulcast through StreamYard to it. So
Yeah,
hopefully I'm not getting any. I mean, using my headset, hopefully it looks like it's picking up. I mean, the
so
icon over there is acts like it's picking up, so I don't know.
I have done a few live streams with Harold, who's my co-host, and or I'm
Mhm.
his co-host, and it's really weird. We were trying to do it through StreamYard, and then there was
Mhm.
delays and a little bit of figuring things out.
Yeah, it does, and I never can make this work with Mike. Mike just came in, Philippine nomad.
Mm,
So I'm this one is going out to my Facebook page and into my YouTube.
cool.
So and I've got the Noster Nest up, um, and yeah, it's over here. I'm gonna have to work on my screen here, figure out how I'm going to do the screens, but I don't have any idea if anybody's over there or not. I don't even know how I would. I mean, I know how you tell. You could see little icons of people that's in there, but I don't know how it tells people that
How it notifies them
it's
that you're
live.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm still working on all that. Yeah, um, folks are like on Facebook and stuff. They're not going to know who you are. Give me a real quick little, um, I don't know, 3 or 4 minute pitch on
Three or
what
four
you're
minutes
doing.
of who I am.
Yeah.
Um, my name is Rachel. I'm
Mhm.
from northern lower Michigan. So the Michigan has the lower peninsula and the upper peninsula. I am in the northern part of the lower peninsula. I have a homestead, suburban homestead, closer to town that we have lived for 12 years, and we have all sorts of food here, and I can and
Mhm.
dehydrate. I go help friends butcher. Last fall, we butchered a cow, which was quite an endeavor. And then we also bought 20 acres about 35 miles south of town that we will slowly be transitioning to living at. And I have, I co host a podcast with my co host Harold called the Modern Homesteading Podcast. And I have a blog on WordPress called Rewilder Life that I very inconsistently post at. I'm still learning. I am not very good at technology. I
Mhm.
can grow things, I can cook things, I can can things, but technology is pretty low on my priority list, but I'm trying to make it more so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big learning curve for me when I'm more of a hands on person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be a big challenge. I've been playing with it, uh, gosh, since AOL one. So that's
Yeah.
way back when you had to get the little disc and put in, and you got like an hour free a month. It was crazy.
Yes,
But
I remember that. My dad was down at U of M at the time getting a bone marrow transplant, and the only way that we could communicate was through email. And it was,
mhm,
the whole slow dial up thing.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was gosh,
Yeah, of course,
6 years ago.
yeah, yeah. My first husband, was in the service, and the first computer we had, it was a DOS machine, and it was and a dot matrix printer, and it was the orange screen. It was just a nightmare, but I had no idea that you had to have a separate connection. So I go to, of all places, Montgomery Ward's, and I go back into their, back where the radios and televisions, appliances and stuff were. And I'm talking to the guy about this computer. I'm like, I want to get it for him for, I don't know if it's his birthday or Father's Day, because his birthday was in March and Father's Day is in June. So I don't know. And I pay all this money for this machine. I don't know how to use it. And he had to tell me, well, there's no way I can, because I knew he had computers at work. He said, I can't connect to it. There's no way I can connect to the one at work to, because I thought it would help in having a computer at home. I had no idea, you know.
Right.
But I learned to do a lot of stuff with that machine, and then in '96, I think it was in '96, my then supervisor, she was a whiz with technology. Oh my gosh, she just was great, and she was in charge of the purchase and overseeing the staff to maintain the computers in the division where I worked. And she and I went. They used to have, I don't know if you remember computer shows. They'd go to the civic centers and big halls and stuff. And you'd go in, you buy the, okay, this is
I don't. I
showing.
live in small town America, so
Well,
very
but
small town.
yeah, but they would have probably advertised it. You would have seen it somewhere. Come to the so and such. For us, it
Oh,
was the
okay.
convention center, you know. And but what it would be, you would go in and you'd buy bits and pieces, and you'd buy software packages, and it'd be just a big weekend expo kind of thing. And most of the people who were building the computers didn't. American English was not their first language.
Uh,
So she and I went, and she and I spent like $1,200, which was an insane amount for a
oh
machine
yes,
at that point.
yes.
And on this thing that, you know, my iPhone could just blow out of the water today. But
Right.
she said, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, and put all that together and got online. And then I was hooked. I was hooked. And yeah, my kids used to get on in the middle of the night. I'd hear something, get up and come downstairs. They'd be on it in the middle of the night. It was
Right.
it was terrible, but I've been dabbling with it.
I
And
didn't really dabble with it. And like,
Mhm.
you know, when I was going to high school and college, you still used a typewriter.
Sure, yeah.
I remember being really excited because I bought a word processor when I was in
Mhm.
college, and it made
Yeah.
my life easier,
Mm.
which is hilarious now. But
Yeah. Well, you
yeah,
know.
my husband dabbled in it. He built a couple of computers when we were first married, and then
Mhm.
he got too busy doing other
Sure.
things. He kind of
Yeah.
got out of it. And now my kids are kind of into it, but
Mhm.
they aren't living here anymore. So, you know,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, my son's he's an adult, but he lives in Virginia now, and he does some stuff that I have absolutely no comprehension
right,
of. But
exactly. Yeah.
um,
And then you got
but
like
yeah,
cryptocurrency thing, and it's like I
I'm
can wrap
learning
my
that.
brain around it enough to
Yeah.
get myself in trouble.
Yep,
Like,
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
yeah,
I mean, I get it, but I don't
right,
get all of it, you know.
right,
But yeah,
exactly.
I've had a lot of help with that too. A lot of the guys have helped me
Yeah,
with
me
that.
too.
Bless his heart, Josh. Every there for a while, it was like every day there was 4 or 5 questions I was shooting at him, and I know he was getting tired of it.
It's like
But
you can teach an old dog new tricks. Here we are.
there you go. I don't know if you can see comments.
I
Uh,
cannot. I cannot.
okay, okay, and I don't know that
Well,
I can
maybe let
fix
me
that.
look. I see over here. I can click.
Does it say comments over there?
Hey, I can.
Okay, because you see, Mike has said congratulations to you on your win this morning too.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yay! I'm
You know,
glad we both learned something today. You can find.
I have a little. I had 411 before I
Oh,
won the 10,000. So you know.
yeah. So I'm going to, until the day I die, or until somebody beats me in the head and I forget. I'm going to keep talking about the Jack Dorsey thing on Noster, where he sent me 1,337 sats, and I thought, wow, this. You know, I didn't realize it. Josh and Brian were the ones talking about it at first. Did you see this, Robin? Did you see this? I'm like, no. You know, because I'm still trying to figure out all the way in this Noster how to
Right.
get to stuff. And so they screenshot it and sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I know who Jack Dorsey was from, you know, anyway, Twitter and all that. And my most recent recollection was when he was before Congress, and he looked, you know, strung out and beard and uncombed and all that stuff, and he just looked silly. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this 1,337 was geek speak for an abbreviated form of elite, and it was supposed to represent LEET, LEET, but as a short form of elite. And then it was supposed to mean that, you know, you're in the bigger group. And I guess because Noster was just getting started, that's why. I don't know what the big deal was, but apparently to some of these people out there, it is a big deal. So I'm just going to keep harping on it. And so I screenshotted it and kept it. I'm gonna throw it up all over the place. And I said the other day, I said, until somebody who knows Jack Dorsey tells him that I'm doing this, so he will message me and tell me to stop or something. So Mike says his first DOS desktop, slowest memory, monochrome monitor, yep, mouse, keyboard, and dot matrix printer, yep, ran about $2,000 back in college. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
close. That's close to what we had, and I still have that printer somewhere.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it's in a box, but I mean, it's not like I have it connected anywhere. I may still have the computer
Oh my goodness.
in a box where you can't get rid of it. I mean, you know,
I think ours are long gone after one of the moves.
yeah. Well, I haven't. Well, I've moved, but only like across the street, so it wasn't far enough to have to clear anything out, really. But yeah, I had a blast with that, and I keep trying. Now, I have now managed to follow. I know, like they're going to even know Jack Dorsey's mom on Nostr. So I'm going to see. I told Josh the other day, I said, let me see if I can get her to comment on something. But
Yeah,
I
I
haven't heard
still
from her
haven't
yet.
even tried to go on Nostr. I've just, like I said, this been crazy busy and
Well,
still
yeah.
coughing from having pneumonia and
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what you're going to have to do is, and this is kind of where I was going really, you just have to pick a lane or two
yep,
and kind of hyper focus on those because you can't do it all. You can't do it all.
nope.
And I was on Twitter way back in, oh gosh, I want to say 2008, but I can't swear that that's when it was. It hadn't been out too long, and I was going to some group meetups for the Chamber of Commerce, and people were saying, "Are you doing this? Are you doing this?" I'm like, "No, what is it?" And at that point, you couldn't really sort things out on Twitter and have different views, and so everything would just scroll so fast, and it was a real turn off to me. And then there was some changes, and then you could have your people you could have people sorted out so that it was easier to follow conversations. But so I was on it for that, and I had a WordPress blog a long time ago, and I don't keep mine up either. And the YouTube thing, I've actually got a lot of YouTube videos out, but they're really old and they're not that much.
Yeah,
Um, so it can be hard to find your spot. And then at one point, I subscribed to a couple of programs that would, like, if whatever you put on your blog, it would auto populate to all
yeah,
these other
right,
places,
yeah,
but which it was fine. But I just I didn't see a result out of it because not everybody in every like the people I'm connected with on LinkedIn are different than the people I was connected with on Twitter, and they don't want to hear the same thing.
right.
Everybody wants something different. So I didn't find a lot of value in using that, and I ended up stopping that. But I like that with StreamYard I can connect to different things, but mostly I can strip that audio.
Oh,
So
yeah,
so I can strip that audio and you know that and post the audio up as a podcast. So
right.
I
That
really like
makes it
that.
easy.
Mhm. But I've not been able to unless it's one of the programs that's already in StreamYard. I've not had any luck with using the RMT. Is it RMTP? I think it is.
I actually, so to be clear, Harold does all of the technology for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or
yeah, the other
TNP, I
stuff,
think it
you
is.
know. Yeah,
So I haven't had any luck with that because with Rumble you can't set it ahead of time. Like on StreamYard, I can tell it I want it to go to YouTube and I want it to go to Facebook and I want it to go. There's one or two other ones that'll let you set up, and then as soon as I click live, it's doing that. Otherwise, you have to go get this other code and plug it in, and then you have to do it every time. And if I have to do it every time, I
right.
don't
Well,
want
and
to do
then
it.
you've only got so much
Yeah,
time
yeah,
to do things
yeah.
in the day.
So, what's going on your homestead? Anything? What are
Yay!
you into
Well,
about this time of year?
we're finally out of our winter slumber, and spring
Mhm.
is trying to happen, but we keep going back and forth with temperatures.
Oh yeah, we are too.
I planted potatoes and carrots, onions and beets this week.
Oh.
Today I'm going to be going out and treating a tree, an apple. I have an apple tree with some canker. So I'm going to be going out
Oh.
and treating that. Hopefully it works. We'll see. And I'm washing out buckets. My mom got me some 5-gallon buckets from the bakery down by her for free. So
I saw a little bit of that conversation
yeah.
over on was it Nicole's site, the Living Free site? I think it was. You guys were talking about buckets.
I don't think it was me, but somebody was talking
No?
about buckets, huh?
Oh, okay.
May have been a while
I get
ago.
everybody confused because I haven't met everybody yet.
It may have been a while ago, but yeah, so I got that. I'm canning, or not canning, I'm rendering some tallow for soap. I collected, actually, my computer's sitting on it right now. I collected for Cynthia yesterday to put in some soap and put on some salad and stuff like that. So it's kind of foraging. I do a lot of foraging.
I have tried it. I've got a couple of guides, you know, and all of the things that I've learned, and I'm not taking a hit on my mom because mom was good. She did a good job, but mom didn't do any of this stuff. Her mother did. But by the time mom gets married and has me, she's all into the modern, buy it at the store, get it as cheap as you
Yeah.
can, that kind of life. She's not, maybe a couple tomato plants because she just loved tomatoes, but they're not gardening, and my dad wasn't either. They're not gardening anymore and stuff. So
Well, see,
all
I
of the
grew up a city girl.
so it's backwards.
My parents didn't even cook. I mean, my mom cooked kind of. It was very simple cooking.
Yeah.
She didn't do any canning. We didn't have green grass even. So this was something I learned after I got married. My husband was raised on a small homestead.
Yeah, mom didn't cook much, not anything. Like you said, it was very simple: meat and potatoes, just about every meal of some sort, But yeah, and so all of the things, even the canning, I've learned on my own, and so I don't have all this vast ancient knowledge to or anyone to ask about it. So I get the books and I try to teach myself. I haven't done much foraging. The husband grew up in rural Lincoln County, which is about the area of that county was about 26, 27 miles from where I'm at. So he can spot some things. His mother was really good at it. They used to go out and get greens every spring and stuff, but she's not, by the time he and I met, she's not able to do that. So I haven't really,
I'm actually taking a class this weekend because the one thing I'm nervous about collecting, like a lot of the leaves and stuff here are pretty easy to identify. I have a couple of apps on my phone, but mushrooms scare me.
Yeah, I hear a lot of that.
I do not eat a mushroom unless I know exactly what it is. So this weekend, I'm taking a class from professional foragers that actually forage and sell. So they're they have a bunch of different certifications. So I feel really comfortable taking the class.
Oh yeah.
From them, from professionals, because I mean, you eat a mushroom and you might die.
Yeah, you might. I'm not a fan of them to begin with, so I've never actually gone out to look for them. I've taken some photos. I went out to the husband's family area. They still own. They've still got about 11 acres or so of that property, and did some photos of some mushrooms. Chicken of the woods and oyster mushrooms or whatever they're called, and stuff like that. But I haven't actually tried to eat them because of the same thing you're saying. I don't know them. I don't know. Plus, I don't care for them that much.
Oh, see, we love them. We've always done morel mushrooms, which there is plus morel too, but we've done morel mushrooms. And last year I collected turkey tail, and then chaga, which is a mushroom that grows on a tree. I don't even know if it's classified as a mushroom, but those are the ones I feel comfortable right now, but I want to expand that because in Michigan, we get rain just falls from the sky here. So we kind of have a great habitat here for mushrooms. They just kind of grow. and I use some of them medicinal. Like the turkey tail is very woody and you wouldn't eat it. It's medicinal.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, because I use a lot of medicinals. One of the things I didn't say when I got on was um, I was very sick for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was, I think it was 28 or 29, I was bedridden.
Oh.
Yeah. So for me, this whole lifestyle has been about me reclaiming my health. And then my
Mm-hmm.
kids have there's some genetic things, but my kids have some health issues. And
Mm-hmm.
so diet and food and medicinals have
Yeah,
huge
it
amount.
is. It
Yep.
is. It's very important. Now, I'm not as um, restricted as a lot of folks are, but I don't I don't buy a lot of junk anymore. I stopped. I mean, a long time ago we stopped that. On occasion, football season here or there, something like that. But I don't buy a lot of pre-boxed stuff anymore, like the rice-a-roni types and the
Right.
dehydrated potato stuff. I mean, I did a lot of that when my kids were very young and still living with me, and I was single, because it was cheap and it was fast. You go to work, and you come back, you
Right.
got to
Right.
cook for the kids and stuff.
That's what we did when I was going to college and
Hmm.
married and young. It
Yeah,
was like we were busy.
and
And we did.
there's a lot of people who have to. I mean, that's where they're at.
Yep.
That's just where they're at. And I'm not one to say that some folks get very assertive in their "you've got to eat this way or you're wrong." I don't. I know that people have gluten intolerance. My son was dating a girl that was gluten intolerant, and so I tried to make sure I had things, and I had um, a few new things that hadn't been cooking in, so that they wouldn't have been cross contaminated and stuff. But they don't date anymore, but I try to pay attention to that. I know there are people who need to restrict certain things, and I know there's people who just want to restrict certain things. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and tell any one person that if you don't eat this way, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No,
but
neither.
I've
I have my own personal beliefs at what is the
yeah,
healthiest way, but I'm not going to
right,
bash
right,
somebody that
yeah,
chooses to be vegan, vegetarian,
yeah,
carnivore. It's
yeah.
life. It's what you
We
decide. So
we
yeah.
have we have advanced in our lifestyles that we do eat better.
Hmm.
I do more canning, I do more fresh foods, I do more dehydrated stuff, very similar. But I mean, I still have, some stuff around. I still have chocolate because, I like chocolate. I
Right.
do.
Well, I
I
mean,
will eat the occasional junk food, but
yeah, we
we
do
just don't
too.
keep a lot of
Yeah,
it.
we do too. I made cinnamon rolls, sourdough cinnamon rolls. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you make me hurt.
They were
Cinnamon
pretty
rolls.
amazing. I'm glad my husband ate most of them.
Yeah. I've gotten to where now I get some stuff for our Bible study and a lot of sweets because there's some of the folks that's when they eat junk is when they come to the Bible study, and well, for those who may not know, I host a morning Bible study for my church, and we call it Bibles and Brunch. So we have coffee and pastries and stuff. Not a lot, not anything you have to cook though, but so I end up having to bring a lot of that back because it's not going to keep. And I send it with the husband to work. I'm like, take the stuff, go, take it to the guys at the plant, let them eat.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting because especially when you've had to almost teach yourself. Now you said your husband came from a small homestead, so you had a little help there. But if you've had to teach yourself,
Well, they did
uh,
everything conventionally, and we do
yeah,
everything organic and regeneratively. So it's a
yeah,
very different monster.
hmm,
However, like the canning, that his mom taught me how to can,
yeah.
um, and the root cellaring and all that kind of stuff that I learned from her.
Now,
But
root cellar, I've always wanted to try to create, but
right.
our property is not conducive to that. And I thought, well, you can do it in the basement because our basement's unfinished, stays about 50, 55
Oh
degrees
yeah.
or so. But I just don't know. If I don't see it, I forget it. And
Yeah.
I got a grow light and use some the reflective those emergency blankets. It looks
Yeah.
like tin foil, and put up in a corner. There used to be a shower down here, I'm actually in the basement now. There used to be a shower down here, and I put a table up so that I could get it up high enough off the floor that the light would reach, just because of logistics. And I'd put that blanket stuff all around and just
Mhm.
closed it off so that the light would bounce and I ended up burning up everything I had in there. And I kept forgetting to come down. I kept forgetting to fool with it, and it's sitting right beside my washer and dryer. And I still thought, "Oh, I gotta get some water on that stuff," and then I'd still go off and forget it, so I just didn't do any good. And I'm thinking if I had a root cellar set up, I would just end up, I don't know, it'd just be a mess, so, um, I don't know that I could, but I've always been, because I am cheap in some ways. There's some places I'll spend money, and there's some things I don't like to spend money. And if I could get away with, having the root cellar, having the canning, having the dehydrating, having all that stuff, I would, you know, in a heartbeat. But I forget, and then I get overextended. And
Yeah, that's overextended is probably one of my bigger issues right now. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, with work and the
yeah.
homestead, and we have two homesteads, so we're running.
So what's your second one? Your
Well, the
in-laws?
second one is the 20 acres. My in-laws, my husband is the baby, so
Hmm.
his father has passed away quite a while ago,
Okay.
and his mom is in nursing care. She's in
Oh, okay.
her 80s.
Hmm.
So, but we have the second acreage that we purchased to move to. So
Okay.
animals, because what we have here, we can have chickens.
Hmm.
We have 4 chickens, but we don't have much area. We have a third of an acre, which
Oh, okay.
because of the way our house is set up and how it was added onto, most of the house takes up most of the property, the house and the garage. So
I can appreciate it. I can appreciate that.
we're on a postage stamp with every food thing that we can stuff in every corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've got, what rounds up to, 2 city lots, right where I'm at now, and the house is on one, and then we've got, what started out as a small two-room
Mhm.
building for the people who originally lived here. The house was built in 1920s. He built her a small two-room place so that the ladies group that she was like the Eastern Star could meet there. Here, the local group of people, they could meet there once a week. And then they added on a restroom to that, and then they added on a little bigger room, and then they
Right.
added on a little garage. So that's almost, it could be a one-person apartment, you know,
Yeah.
but it is in really bad shape. Well, it takes up a big chunk of the second lot. And then we have our camper that we park, that the husband uses when he has to travel out of state to work, because when he travels out, he's out for several weeks in a row. Um, and it takes up
Right.
most of it.
Yep.
So I end up, in theory, I've got room for quite a few chickens. I could do rabbits and stuff, but in practice, it doesn't work that well
Right.
because of the. So this year, I've taken my front flower bed, and there's a few things that were bulbs that I left, because I don't think about it when you're supposed to do it to pull the bulbs up, and I forget, and then the ground's froze. So I put blueberries and strawberries out there. I was going to put some lettuce out there, but I think I waited too long for that, because it gets the morning sun quite a bit and
Mhm.
it's starting to get warmer. And so I had that out there. And then I'm doing containers in the backyard. Now, last year, my container gardens didn't do well at all. I'm not in a position to make my own compost. Even with the
Mhm.
chickens, I just don't have enough materials and enough space to do that.
I understand that because I don't either.
So yeah, so I end up having to buy,
Yeah.
soil for the gardens, and the stuff that I got a hold of last year just was
Oh,
junk, and I didn't have any luck with anything last year. So hopefully,
that's
I've ac
always
yeah, hopefully I put a little extra money in. I went to a local feed and seed place and got the soil this time, and hopefully that'll do a little better. I'm not quite finished with it, but
yeah.
I've got stuff
Yeah.
that can be
Our
put in
our
there.
other problem is we have on one side of the house. Our house faces the wrong direction. So our house actually faces west. And
Oh.
then we have houses right on top of us on both
Mm.
sides. Right? And then we're built onto a pretty steep hill because our backyard is a lake. So we have, I can't do anything on the sides. It's all very shaded
Yeah.
and very steep. So we can only use both sides of the yard. And then our neighbors are like right on top of the line. In
Yeah.
fact, when we bought our house, we found out that the neighbor's garage is actually on our property, but that happened a lot in the old days. So
Yeah, because
right on top. I mean,
Mhm.
we have like just this really narrow space. I think I measured it once, and it's like, I cannot remember. Like 75 feet from the edge of our garage to the edge of their garage. That's it. And then,
Yeah.
it's pretty small.
Yeah, I remember, now, of course, the community I'm in they're not that tight yet, but as people pass away and their kids sell the property and the lots get divided and stuff like that, it's starting to get really crowded. But I had, my mom's sister, my aunt lived in Cleveland, and I know that their house and what they could drive to get to the 2-car garage next to the fence, it was so narrow that if you parked your vehicle on that little bit of driveway between the house and the fence, you couldn't open your doors because it was that tight.
Yeah,
And
see, we
then
have
how in
similar
the world they would get into the garage, I never did figure that out. And he had a really big car. This was back in the early 70s. He had a big Lincoln Continental. I mean, that
Okay,
thing was a
yeah.
boat, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But you couldn't
Yeah.
open your doors between, and that's how narrow it was. Just wide enough to get a car back through.
Yeah, and our property on the other side, so because their garage, it shifted everything. So now our driveway is actually on our neighbor's property.
Mhm.
So if we park in our driveway, we're actually parking half onto their property. So we have one area of our driveway where we can't drive. We can drive on it, but we can't park
Yeah.
there.
That's crazy. There's a
It's
spot.
just because now we have satellite, and before they did it all by hand, and it was
Yeah.
1930s or 40s, and then the math
Yeah.
it's a little
Yeah.
off. It set everybody off. I forget, it was like 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah, I mean, you can just have a rotten surveyor, and it's like building a house. If you get one corner of the house just a quarter of an inch out, the whole house will be screwed.
Yeah, and that's basically what happened. Is somewhere down the line, it was probably only off a little bit, but it set everybody else off, and domino effect. Thankfully, none of the neighbors care. We're all just like,
yeah, for now.
Yeah. Well, we're selling at some point, so
yeah. Hopefully your neighbors will buy it, and then they can fix that.
Oh, I don't think they'll buy our house. I don't think our neighbors will buy our house. Maybe, but it'd be surprising. Our house is one of the bigger houses on the side, so it's been added on to quite a bit.
Let's see. Okay. So what do you? And we're both just starting to dabble in the cryptocurrency, or actually the Bitcoin. I think Josh and all of them would get really upset if we said crypto instead of Bitcoin.
I actually have other coins besides Bitcoin.
Oh,
yeah.
I was always some of the ones that were helping me would scold me if I even looked at that. Because one of them I was looking at, I'm like, oh man, it's only like $11. Yeah. No, don't get it. Don't that.
Well, I've been doing.
And if I would have gotten it, it's already doubled.
I don't know how long when you started this. So we kind of got into this a while ago, and then we got busy and just kind of parked things and haven't messed with them. But we have friends and acquaintances that were heavily into Ethereum like a long time ago, and they're doing very, very well. So we got into it a little bit, but not when they did, because I'm still cleaning toilets. So
well,
I'm not driving any Lamborghini or anything, but and some of them are. So yeah, so I have Ethereum and Bitcoin.
I don't. The only thing I've got is the little bit of Bitcoin.
and
I
then
mean,
some
if
lightning.
I added it all together, I might have $50.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
I
have
think
a lot.
I think my personal grand total, now my husband and I do have together, but then I bought some just to play around with because I was trying to understand it better.
Hmm.
I might have $100. Woo!
Okay. Well, careful. Uncle Sam will get you for that one.
Oh, I haven't sold it yet, and it's all on the up and up. So
They're talking. Well, I don't know where it is. It's been about 3 weeks ago. I heard them talking about. No, it's been a little longer than that. That there was a bill trying to go through Congress um, that would tax you on unrealized gains. So you unrealized capital gains. So you wouldn't even have to have
oh nice.
cashed out or whatever. I'm
Love
hoping that thing died, but
it. They can tax. Well, I got $100, so
yeah,
but still, it is frustrating. I mean,
it is.
it's like it's a game that they're always going to win, and it's rigged, so we lose, and we stay like a little bit of a. They got to keep the slaves going, you know.
Yeah, I agree that I get so aggravated. Um, it's constantly an election cycle now. There's no break.
Oh, oh
There's
yeah.
no break. It's a constant election cycle because as soon as this one's over, they're starting the one for the next 2 years for the
Mhm.
Senate and the House. And I've never heard one of them, not the first one, say that they're running to retract laws. Everybody's talking about, and they're all proud about the new legislation they passed. How about passing some legislations
Maybe
to
Senator
repeal
Massey.
some of the stuff?
Senator Tom Massey, I think maybe has, but he's the only one. I feel like we're pulling out of the kids game. Maybe some people don't remember this, but the barrel full of monkeys.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where we're getting our candidates. We just pull
I,
that barrel
yeah,
full of monkeys.
yeah. It's gotten because, and I say we just generically
Right.
because it's them, but not we. We have gotten to the point where the good people won't run because of all the crap.
Right. Like, why would
And so
you?
the crap people will run and you just throw your hands up and say whatever.
Yeah. Basically.
Um, I have in my life voted for people that basically had no chance because I was not going to vote for the major candidates. I believe that I get frustrated because people say, well, I don't vote because it doesn't matter. Well, less than 20% of the people in this country who are eligible to vote, which means there's a lot more than that, um, are voting. So we're allowing these people to do it all. If even 50% of the ones that are left would get off their cans and stand up and vote, and we could change it. But
Maybe.
well,
We don't even have good candidates, so it is
that's
frustrating.
true. That's true. We don't have good candidates because so many people have backed out, have pulled away, and said, "I don't want to fool with it." But
Right, because they
you
do,
know, eight,
in my
eight,
opinion, because they do it on purpose. I mean, they run anybody through the ringer, and it totally ruins your life.
I have stood for local election. I ran for local House of Delegates here in West Virginia, and I was very involved with the Republican machine for a while, and I saw how some of that sausage was made. And there are cases where they'll throw anybody in there because they run the numbers, they do the math, and they said, well, based on all this historical stuff, this candidate's going to win, and our guy doesn't have a chance. So whoever will fill the slot will fill the slot.
Right. Well, then on top of it, they stick with their incumbent, even if
Yeah.
the person that wants to run against them is a better candidate. And that always drove me crazy.
And they can convince you of why that's the right thing to do,
Mhm.
numerically and statistically. It's not necessarily the moral thing to do. We've got our governor here in West Virginia was a Democrat for generations. He switched parties to Republican and he got elected because the Democrat that was on the ticket was not a good candidate. And so he wanted to, then as soon as he gets in office, he's elected. No, I got that backwards. He ran as a Democrat and got elected. And then as soon as Trump was sworn in, he changed party to Republican. And he's been a Republican for 8 years now. He can't run again. Now he's going to run against Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin isn't my favorite, but of those two, I will vote for Joe Manchin because I'm not voting for the the guy that's our governor now is being sued because his mining corporations have not paid taxes properly. They haven't paid workers. Uh, there's some workers' comp lawsuits he hasn't paid that he was supposed to pay as a businessman. And because he can get up there and hee haw yee haw and talk like some cartoon character, because he
Right.
does, he gets up there in interviews and golly gee y'all, I'm just trying to be a good guy, and I'm thinking that's not how you speak. I've heard you speak. You don't speak that way.
Yeah. I
So
think
he,
a lot
he
of it,
plays that up and
it's all about telling somebody else how to live their lives, it
yeah,
seems like,
a lot of it. A
politician
lot
and the
of
government. And I have a really I have a really hard time with that. And I wish we had more politicians that would just say, you know what? Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. But
yeah,
we don't.
but they they'll tell you that while they take your stuff to give it to somebody else.
Exactly. And that's what's happening more
And
and
yeah,
more.
so but I know the odds are not if you if you run the numbers, the odds are not that this vast number of people who could vote and make the difference are going to do it. That's the problem. When you've got, 80 out of 100 or yeah, 80 out of 100 people who are just turning their backs and walking away, those other 20 people are setting those laws that these other 80 people don't want to deal with. So you could
Except for
fix
our
it.
numbers don't even count. The last two major
There
elections,
is there
the
is
last two
debate.
presidents that were elected,
There is something wrong
probably
there.
even more, probably even more. But the
The-
last two I know for sure did not actually win. We
I
have delegates choosing who is the
Well,
best.
the delegate, but that's been the way it's been for years. That's the way it's
Right,
always been. We've
right,
elected the delegates to represent us.
exactly.
Um,
But
that gets
none of them
into
have won the popular vote. The last, I mean, Obama didn't, and well,
Biden.
neither.
Biden.
I don't think Trump did either.
Uh, there was an argument about that.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
remember
can we
how it
even
settled out.
trust?
But they went back. I mean, it went back further than that because they were,
Oh yeah, I
the
know. It's
Bush
probably
Corps.
time. Yeah,
Bush Corps was the biggest one that I can remember, and I think there was a couple before that. But
yeah,
yeah, there's been something wrong for a long time. There's been something
yeah.
wrong for
So
a
I
long
think we need major changes, but unfortunately, I don't
Give
think
it
we're going to see them.
we're gonna see him. It's not gonna be the way we want it. That's gonna be
No.
the problem.
Well, and if it is the way there's going to be a lot of bloodletting, unfortunately. Um,
Maybe. Maybe.
yeah,
I
and,
don't
I don't
know.
even mean like I may mean even proverbially like
Yeah.
financially. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna have some major financial issues, and it's not gonna. I don't think we're headed for some easy times.
No, no, we're not. It's been coming. I've been trying to tell family members, you guys need to get ready for this. But when it doesn't, it's kind of let me bring religion into this just for a little bit. It's kind of like the guy walking on the sidewalk with the sandwich board that says, Christ is coming soon, or repent, the end is here, and that kind. And it's been 50 years and he's still doing that. But it's gonna happen. And whether it happens today and I don't mean at this point I'm coming back around to the collapse. It's going to happen, and we've been warning and warning and warning, and people aren't. Not everybody's agreeing with it. Not everybody's getting ready for it, and
well, right now we're a house of cards glued to
yeah,
the table. That's how I keep telling my kids. We're a house of cards glued to the table, and eventually somebody's going to knock the legs off from underneath the table. When?
yeah,
No.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
And how bad? Who knows? But we can't continue down the path that we've been going down. We can't keep
right.
hiding things and shifting decimals. And
I wouldn't be surprised if, because of the superpower status of the country, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't go the way like when the USSR fell apart. Um, they, it devolved, but it, it a lot of the countries fell off, but the central part of Russia stayed, and so Russia has
yeah,
kind of built back up, and that's what we see Putin doing. They didn't actually, I mean, they didn't actually get overrun by the Chinese, and we didn't go in and take them over, but they just kind of fell apart and fell away. And each of the little countries, I can imagine that happening, that some of the states fall away,
Yeah.
but that there's still a core that calls itself the United States or
It's a
something
life
along that lines.
that's for sure.
Yeah, that stay. I keep hearing people, people talking about um, the Great Divorce, or whatever they're calling it. I don't know if that happens the way they're seeing it, because I don't know that you're going to end up with a state like kind of in the center of the country. Let's just for the discussion, let's say it's Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma secedes, and they're the only one there. And maybe Texas does, and maybe Florida does, and maybe there's one or two others, but they're not going to be able to survive on as an independent nation, dead set in it. So I don't see
infrastructure that would have to happen. I mean, we saw
Yeah.
what happened. Texas talks about being able to secede, but when they had their power issue a few years, I can't remember. Time all goes together.
It's only been a couple years when the freeze came through, and
and there's things like that. There's some
Right.
major things that would need to be figured out if that did happen. But
Texas has the advantage of all the oil refineries that they could probably redirect all of that.
And just sheer mass.
Could. But one thing that people don't realize, and this comes back to West Virginia, my husband works for the power company here, is that a lot of the grid in the eastern and northeast gets power from West Virginia companies. Our power plants help, and then we're not the only ones, but we feed a lot of Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York. We feed into that part of the grid. So as they take these West Virginia would be just in a crap hole here if we tried to secede, because we got coal and we got natural gas,
right?
And we got our electric plants and stuff, but we don't have the ability to redirect all that stuff.
Yeah,
we don't have enough here to be able to redirect it and keep West Virginia lights on, like they like to say. I don't because they've closed down several of the littler power plants that would have been able to do that. So I don't know, I've read several of the books along the lines of the different countries collapsing and the economies, like Argentina and stuff. And I don't know. I don't think things are going to come apart the same way we think they're going to. I don't think there's going to be a way to, like people talk about, and owning gold. It might be Spirko that talks about it. I can't remember. It says, how are you going to, you can't send, I can't send gold to you to buy, herbs or something that you may be putting together. We're not going to do that through the mail. And am I going to be able to do it, face to face? Probably not. It's heavy. It makes noise. You can't,
Yeah.
How do you weigh it to know that you're getting a fair amount out? So I don't know that that's going to be the same.
I think it's really hard to predict. I mean, the closest thing we had was when that certain virus, I don't know if you use the word because I don't want to use anything, but
I usually just say Rona, and I'm not monetized anyway.
So when Rona came around, I mean, none of us expected it. I think it just kind of going to be different. Each scenario is going to be different. But when that came around, nobody expected it to.
I don't know if you
fast. I mean, things went down. I don't know about where you are. We live in a bigger town, but it's still less than 20,000 people. And we don't even live in that. We just live close to it. And but it just happened so fast. Like I remember, like there was 1 week, it was March or something like that, and it just happened so fast. Like next thing you know, everything's closed down. Of course, my husband was an essential worker, and I was
mine too.
I never quit working, but everything shut down, and it just was. You think that you can predict it, and then it's just different. So I think you just kind of have to you just kind of have to not worry too much about it, but still be ready. And I try not to focus too much on it because I thankfully have enough skills to just keep going. I mean, shortage never affected us, and
it didn't me that much. There were a few things that I was a little uncomfortably low on, but I wasn't out of,
yeah.
But I had been watching this on different internet sites and in different groups and different podcasts and stuff as stuff started happening strangely over in that country. And you saw initial reports on the news of there's something going on. There's a lot of sick people. And then
we were watching the Hong Kong riots. We were watching Michael Yan. If you're familiar with Michael Yan, we were watching Michael Yan, who was an American war correspondent over in Hong Kong, and he started talking about coronavirus.
Yeah, and we were watching that. We were seeing stories about it, them being welded into their homes and stuff, and apartments being welded, and people talking about what's traveling through the plumbing and all this stuff. And my husband and I and my dad at different times would be like, none of this is making sense. How is it traveling through the plumbing? This can't be right.
And why are these and
so, and just trying to piece logical things together, and it none of it was making sense other than the transmission following. And I told my husband and my dad, I said, watch this. It's going to travel just like AIDS. And they looked at me real funny. I said, international airports, you watch these international airports, it's going to start coming out that way. And it kind of did. And there were the building that I had a client that I was doing some work on, and they frequently, it was a chemical company based kind of organization. And they would travel trying to promote West Virginia to different international organizations. And they frequented over there, Japan and China. And there were people who were, had this horrible cold, horrible thing, went for a couple of weeks, and then they got over it kind of, sort of, and we just called it the crud because every year something goes around, a couple times a year, people get really sick. Well, then we're watching all of this happen. We're talking about it in these buildings, and some of the people are like, this is bad, it's going to kill everybody. And other people are saying, no, it's no big deal, And eventually, things starts getting shut down. And it was, hand sanitizer all over the place, and the face coverings and all this, and you're reading, this particular virus is so tiny, it's going to just go through there. And, oh, that's not true. And this is before we get the official lockdowns.
Right.
Now, initially, I was okay with the couple of weeks. I thought it was stupid. I rolled my eyes, but I'm like, okay, fine. If you think a couple weeks will do it, fine. Let's do this a couple weeks. So I was good with that.
Well, we didn't know what we know now, because we were okay with wearing a mask. My husband has asthma. I have my kids have heart problems. So I was like, well, okay, fine. And of course, now we know differently. But
and there are some viruses those masks will keep out. There are some things, and there's a reason doctors wear them in operating rooms. But unless it's changed, they don't wear the same one for hours because it becomes it becomes saturated with the moisture from your respiration, and you got to and that can just be bad.
I'm turning you because I have somebody coming up the steps that probably doesn't want to be on live.
Okay, that's okay. We people were getting all tore up. You're wearing a mask in your car. And I'm like, well, stop a minute and think this through. If I drive to the Walmart and I pick my mask up out of my purse and I put it on and I go in Walmart and I'm touching all the things and I'm doing all the stuff, I don't want to turn around and touch this mask to take it off. Unless I'm putting a fresh one on.
There's just so
and then my hands are contaminated.
Now that we didn't know then, and we just
But,
It's weird.
I still see people wearing them, and I think these are probably people who have underlying health issues.
Oh yeah.
At this point, people that have underlying health issues that a regular cold or the flu or whatever could probably make them sick. And now it's more acceptable to have on a mask, because it used to be you see somebody with a mask on, you thought, oh my gosh, stay away from me.
Honestly, people probably are going to be mad at me for this, but I actually don't mind. It's like if you have the flu but you have to go out in public, I'm fine with you wearing a mask. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I know it may not stop at 100%, but if it stops some of that
Yeah.
from getting my way, you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get too tore up about it. And if in some of the work that I do, occasionally that I have to go into somebody's place, if they ask me to put one on, I don't care. It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
I'll put one on. I keep some.
Yeah, I cleaned house for a couple of older people, and for
Sure.
a while, some of these people in their 80s, I wore one when I was in the same room with them because they're older, and one of them's housebound because they're not healthy, and
Yeah, they, like I said, they do. There are some virus and bacteria that they do keep, especially at short term, keep from spreading on to other people.
Yeah, I mean, and I wasn't sick much during that time because we wore masks, and of course, this spring I ended up with pneumonia.
Oh, well, and then you weren't out. That was something else that people didn't think about.
Going around now,
yeah,
because we didn't get that little bit of immune inoculation,
right.
And I ended up with pneumonia probably because of that. I mean, I'm susceptible to lots of stuff, anyways. But yeah. There's
a lot of stuff we probably did, but I don't know.
But I'm just like growing my tomatoes and my lettuce and my stress-free living over here. Because if I think about it too much, it just kind of.
It can be depressing. It can be depressing. And
so I focus on what can I do?
Yeah.
Instead of getting.
And what lessons did you learn?
Yeah. What can I do, and to help people, to help myself, and that's kind of been the focus the last couple of years of everything. Is I've been teaching people to do things, and that's what I can do.
Yeah.
I can't change what some of these people in the White House or Congress or the Senate do, but I can teach people and help them.
Yeah, Chris, I'm so bad at looking at I don't look at the comments very well. I don't usually have very many, so I'm not in practice, but he said a good way to destroy voter turnout, they can win easier with low numbers. And that's one of the things, if we roll back a little bit to the elections, when you have and this is not a pro or anti former President Trump. This is a statement of fact. When you have 11 people on the stage, it doesn't take very many votes to be the majority. So because you have diluted all of those votes. So he was not my initial candidate during the primaries. He was not my initial candidate, but
mine.
But as the ones that I really wanted to win fell off, if it's between him and the current guy, I'm voting for him again. If it's between him and Hillary Clinton, I'm voting for him again. When you throw these people up there, that you're going to get the same result. You're not going to get much change. So
that's
news.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, news that doesn't suck. Wubba lubba dub dub. Oh, is this a troll?
I don't know.
I don't either. I've never had a troll before.
Hey, you're making it somewhere if you get a troll, right?
That's what they say. I don't know. I don't think I am. No, actually, that might be a legitimate. I don't know.
It might be.
I've heard that before. News that doesn't suck.
I've seen some of the trolls usually are a little bit. They're not nearly that nice that I've seen. So, it's usually like porn or something.
Yeah. But Josh had the Bozo the Clown one. I saw that. That was funny. That was funny. But no,
I don't get on the lives. I know people do a lot of lives during the day, but most of the time I'm working, and so I
Yeah,
miss a lot
it's
of.
hard. It's hard. It really
Um,
is. But
I always catch. I end up having to catch or I can't even keep up a lot of the time too.
I'm that a lot of the guys, and I say guys because mostly it is guys. I don't know. It's just they're talking about the stuff that I'm interested in. Um, there's not a lot of the ladies that I follow are doing the canning and stuff, which a lot of that I already know, and so I'll catch every now and
Yeah,
again
I
just to see if
enjoy
there's
Nicole's
something.
podcast a lot,
Yeah, yeah, I do.
but I miss
I don't.
her lives too. A lot of them are in the middle of the day, and like I said, I'm
Yeah,
either cleaning somebody's house or I'm
yeah.
outside.
Yeah, I don't catch all of hers. I catch like one here and one there,
Yeah,
just because she does them quite frequently. But
yeah.
um, I, I'm like you. I'm catching them later. I love, and I keep talking about it. My Kindle. I can put my headphones, my Bluetooth, for my and sync it with the Kindle, and the Kindle doesn't run all the commercials in the middle. And now I know that's not fair to the people who are monetized and have 87 commercials in the middle. You still get the first one, and I think the one at the end, depending on how they're set up.
Okay.
But that's what I do. I plug it. I have that Kindle, and I have it where I, get signal, and I'm running these things while I'm cleaning the house and I'm getting stuff
Yeah,
ready.
I listen
Or
to podcasts, but not
Mhm.
live because live sucks my battery dead so fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can. Well, these are on the replay. These
Yeah,
are on the replay
yeah,
that I'm doing on the Kindle. But yeah, I do the podcast ones on the phone. I use the phone for that. But
yeah,
and I'll do that while I'm driving or whatever. And so I'm listening to them a lot. It's just not necessarily like you said at the minute they're recording. So
yeah. I wish I could because sometimes the conversation is interesting.
yes,
But
yes, and you're wanting to
I
shout
know,
at the shout at the radio. I used to do that
yeah,
all the time.
but
AM
it's
radio.
just hard because
Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
a lot of them are in the middle of the day, and that's usually when I'm
Yeah.
busy. So
It's from Rick and Morty. Oh, I
oh,
don't know Rick and Morty. Isn't
I've
that a
heard of them.
cartoon?
I've heard of them as kind of a cartoon, but I don't.
Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't watched it, but I've seen the advertisement. Okay, I'm sorry. So I
No,
haven't
I'm so far
graduated to a
behind
troll
on
yet.
TV. I'm so far behind on a lot of that stuff. I grew up without a television, and we did
Oh,
not have one until probably about 5 years ago. I homeschooled my kids, and we didn't have television then either. So
well,
I went
I had
45
television.
years without television.
I had television growing up, but it was antenna television. It was 4 channels, three network channels and PBS.
My
So that was
husband grew up
about
with lots of TV, and he's like, "Do you remember this?" And I'm like, "Huh? No."
yeah.
Yeah.
I was um I was in my late 20s before I had ever seen Oh Rats. It's that British comedy show. What is it? The guys liked it because it had all the big-breasted women. What was the name of that stupid British comedy show?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I can tell you one of my favorite. I think it was British too. It's called The Good Life. It's an older one from like the 1970s, and it's a
Good Life.
couple of people that he gets tired of his cubicle job, and he starts to farm his yard. You can find it on YouTube.
I
I
may look
actually
it up.
watched.
I've heard of that.
It is hilarious, so hilarious. There was like 5 seasons of it. And I actually bought the DVDs because I love it. But they literally till up their lands, and the neighbors think they're absolutely nuts, and it's pretty funny.
um, what's his it's a guy I can see the opening thing on that. It was the main character's catchphrase in the beginning until his grandchildren found out it was bird speak for "I am in great pain, please help." Oh, well, okay then. That's a show that I didn't watch it. So my older son was born in '86,
Okay.
and so we got the Inspector Gadget. We got oh rats. See, now I'm trying to remember this. I must have Alzheimer's because every time I try to think of something on the fly, I go blank. Um, darn it, what was some of that stuff he watched? Used to drive me crazy, and it wasn't just Inspector Gadget. There was a routine of stuff that he always watched. Anyway, Benny Hill, that's the British one I was trying to think of. Benny Hill.
Oh,
I was in my 20s
I've
before I
heard of
knew
it,
who
but I've
Benny
never.
Hill was. Oh gosh, it's uh, just a single man's or just a man's comedy show. It just was awful. It just was stereotypical male humor kind of stuff. It was just terrible. But yeah, so I didn't I didn't grow up with a lot of television. Saturday morning cartoons was the big deal, which you don't see so much of today because there's a Cartoon Network. You can watch them all day long.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I it's a different it's a different world now, that's for sure. Because the kids, I know my son, as he's smart, and he figured out how to thread uh, a modem line between the was a vent in his room.
Oh,
This was in an older house, but
isn't it?
he threaded that modem line down through that vent and around this and down, and had it, and he would slip and then he would plug it in, and he had a computer upstairs in his room at that point, and he'd be online doing all kinds of terrible, terrible things. And well, I should
Kids find
I
ways. But kids,
yeah, yeah, the porn. And he tried to convince me that anime porn wasn't porn, and I'm like, no, it's porn. I don't care if it is a cartoon. Get the computer. Computer's got to go down where we can see it's coming out of your room. Mom, no, I got it. No, no. But he when I figured out that he'd run that cord, um, I heard it kick on. I had gotten up or something anyway, and I heard the modem. It used to make
oh
I
yeah,
don't know, to make
yeah,
that awful noise, and I heard it, and I kept thinking, "Where is that coming from?" Because the downstairs computer, which is that one we were talking about that I bought at Montgomery Ward's, wasn't on,
huh.
and I did it, and I just then I caught that cable, and I thought, "What?" And I looked, 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 and I just went got a pair of scissors and cut it in half. He come downstairs to check what it was, and it was
I
cut
know. I
in
talk
half.
to my kids. My kids aren't as old. Our oldest adopted daughter is 32, and our youngest is 23. But our 23-year-old is married and gone. But they're like, I'm so thankful that we were born when we were born,
Yeah,
because and we were pretty strict. I mean, we did have a TV and they watched movies, but we never had any hookup or antennas, and they
yeah,
watched a little of it. But they're like, I'm so thankful were born and raised then, when you still played outside and got dirty and
yeah,
did crafts and played instruments to keep yourself entertained.
yeah, and they don't. You can't turn your kids loose today. They call the child
Oh,
welfare on you. You know,
yeah.
we didn't. I mean, people think you're exaggerating when you say that, but you'd get up on Saturday mornings and go outside. You might not come back until dark.
Oh, I mean,
You'd be running over to your girlfriend's house or running over to the ball field or up this, of course, my little community here that I was raised where I'm living now, a different house, but in the same town. And, you could walk over to the elementary school. I mean,
oh
it
yeah,
just was a couple blocks away. So
I
you
rode
just,
my bike miles away from my house during the day.
yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be gone all day long and nobody thought a thing about it.
yeah.
Nobody thought a thing about it.
And we
And,
never yeah, we just were imaginative, and my
mhm,
kids thankfully had very similar
yeah,
upbringing to that. They got to run around the neighborhood
yeah,
and make fires and play with knives and climb trees and
yeah,
get hurt. And when they got
yeah,
bored, they played music.
mhm,
You know,
yeah. It's
that was
crazy,
good. But
crazy.
I feel bad for kids these days that don't get that
No,
opportunity.
yeah, yeah,
So,
this is true.
and every time they turn it on,
Oh, I know. And the
it's
stuff that's
so
on
much part
now,
of their lives, and it's never off. It's never off.
no, and the stuff that's acceptable to show to kids these days, some of the stuff on these so-called cartoon channels is just trash for kids to be watching. They
Right,
shouldn't be
right. Well,
watching
and
it at
it
all.
just never goes off. Like, you go off in the middle of the night and it's still going on. It used to be when your TV, you'd wake up on Saturday morning. We watched a little bit. We weren't allowed to watch a lot, but once in a while I was fortunate enough to watch a Saturday morning
Yeah,
cartoon, probably at my grandmother's. And it wasn't on. It was remember
The
the color.
station went off. Yeah, come on
Yeah.
at 6:00. Yeah,
Now it's just
yeah,
24/7,
yeah.
and kids' brains don't get a break, and
Well, and add the computers
bullying.
and the telephones and everything like that
Yes,
to it, and it's just
everywhere. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm glad I'm not raising kids now, but my kids will raise kids in this, and
Yeah, I don't
yikes.
have any grandchildren yet, but I mean, as much as I want grandchildren, I look and think I don't know how my son and his and their mother would manage in
Yeah,
today's world.
I
I
have a
really don't.
7 and 5-year-old
Mhm,
grandkids from our adopted daughter, and
mhm,
even school, they send homework
mhm.
home on them, and I'm like, they're babies. Why are we? This is not good for their brain to constantly have iPads and
We're the opposite here.
frustrated. But
My niece's children, which are the closest thing I would have at this point to grandkids right now, um, they haven't had homework in years.
hmm,
And I'm like, "Why don't you have homework?" "Oh, we do they don't assign homework." You should have a little bit of something to do." You know, how do we and that rolls into you not knowing what they're teaching in the schools. You know, when my son was coming up, the PTA wanted parents involved in the school. They wanted you there helping the teachers, you know, whether it was just running down and making copies of something for the kids or, you know, helping serve snacks or whatever. They wanted parental involvement in the schools.
mhm,
And now that's gone. So at that point, you had an idea of what was happening. And they even had a review committee at the county level to review the textbooks that were coming up when they would get new textbooks. I haven't heard any, and granted, I don't have kids in the school system directly now, so maybe they do this and I don't know it. But I haven't heard them say that the textbooks for Kanawha County, which is where I'm at, Kanawha County's Board of Education, are open for review,
yeah,
you know, before they decide whether to adopt them or not. And so
yeah, it's
color
hard.
pattern bars, yes, I know
It's
the
hard.
bars, yeah.
We chose to homeschool, and I
Mhm.
don't regret it at all. But I also
Yeah,
realize that some people can't do that. Our
yeah.
grandkids go to a private school. They go to
Yeah,
private.
my option if I wanted to homeschool my kids was not to work and to be on welfare.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not doable for some people.
No, even with child support, and their father paid it. I mean, maybe he'd be a week late. I mean, but it wasn't he didn't get in
Right,
arrears. He
right.
paid it like he was supposed to. I would not have been able to do it on welfare and the child support check. Wouldn't have been able to.
And that's why I think I feel for people like that, and I understand when like Jack says, get your kids out," but there's
Mhm.
also it's not always an option for some people,
No.
and
And I like
it's
to
really
listen to him.
hard.
He has
And
a
it's
lot of good
unfortunate you
information.
have grandparents around or
Mhm.
aunts and uncles that can help do things, but it's yeah,
Yeah, if you can build, I mean, you can, and I say this and hope that I'm right. It worked out that way for my sons. You can um, dilute a lot of the social crap that they give in school. I mean, I wouldn't be able to teach a kid math these days. Just wouldn't be able to. And but some of that social junk, I think you can dilute if you have, and it doesn't have to be a biological family, but if you have a structure
mhm,
around you of friends and family
yeah,
like your church, and it used to be the church,
community,
and
yeah,
people aren't going to church as much anymore either. If you have that kind of a community or a support system where when little Johnny comes home and says the teacher says that boys can become girls, and that you can say, no, not actually. That's not actually how that works. And what it ends up happening is you got to have medicine, you got to have surgery, you got to have your parts cut off, you got to have other stuff, so that you can explain, obviously at their level of understanding, but you can say this isn't exactly what happens, because and not to get too deep in that stuff, but it's insane to me. I mean, we always called girls tomboys who like to, you know, play football and play sports and do that kind of stuff that was technically or at the time considered boys activities, you know, and you didn't have any problem with it. And generally they grew up to be quite successful women.
mhm,
They didn't say, I think I'm a boy, you know, cut my parts off, give me hormones, you know, and I'll grow up to be a boy. Because by the time they reached puberty, usually, now we did have a couple girls that I can remember from upper elementary and middle school were, ended up being homosexual. Big deal. But on average, you didn't have this kind of crap happening. And you sure wouldn't have the school system hiding medical care from the parents.
I
You know,
yeah, the
and
whole this elementary school should be about learning,
yeah,
and we've brought all of this into it.
yeah,
And we need to let kids be kids. These are
exactly.
babies. These are
Yeah,
babies. Why are we dragging them into adult conversations?
exactly.
Um, that
Exactly.
that's hard. I'm thankful that my grandkids go to a private Catholic school, so I'm
Hmm.
thankful for that because their parents are also divorced, and it would be,
Yeah.
you know, they both have to work. So
Yeah. So and it's just would have been now my grandmother and several of her sisters were school teachers. Now,
mhm.
granted, she took her retirement in the 1960s. But the idea that a teacher would suppress something like that and a school counselor would suppress it because maybe it's not the norm, but the stories are bubbling up into the national news of these school systems hiding the fact that they're giving breast binders to little girls or young ladies to
Mhm.
so that they can transition into being in boys. And
I think the problem started decades ago, though,
oh,
with
sure.
them ignoring, um, them just not telling parents what's going on. I mean,
Yeah.
I know of abuse situations that teachers hid.
Oh, yeah.
The child comes to the teacher who's a mandatory reporter,
Right.
and it gets brushed under the rug. The child gets sent back home to the abusive situation, and nothing happens. And
Oh, yeah.
this was decades ago, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know why the school district has decided that they are suddenly the children's parents. Basically, that's what they've decided. They're not going to
Yeah.
tell the
You're
actual
right.
birth parents,
Right.
and it's like how I don't know. The whole thing frustrates me so much, but and reading the comments. But I
Yeah.
should get off. We've been going for an hour and 17 minutes, and I have a friend
Yeah.
that needs my love.
Yeah. I apologize for going over
No,
this
that's
long.
okay.
It's just been a really interesting uh opportunity
Yeah,
to flesh this out on topics that I think we both understand, and
yeah.
it was really fun. I'm glad you
It was
decided
fun.
to come on,
Yeah, it was
and I'd
last
love to
week.
have you again, and I'll keep a timer a little better next
Oh
time.
yeah, no, that's okay. I don't
Anytime.
actually have a schedule today. I just have like it's today's. I try to keep Fridays to myself, but it doesn't
Sure.
always work, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's Mondays.
Yeah.
I have to clean my own house after all once in a while.
Hey, I understand that. I've got my dad comes over on Fridays, almost on the money at noon because he has it's an INR test. It tests his he's on warfarin, blood thinner, and it tests to make
Okay,
sure the level is
right.
where it's at, and we report it to the doctor. It keeps him from having to go in every 2 weeks or so. But almost like clockwork at noon, he's here for that. I've got my new housekeeper maybe coming today. She was supposed
Yay.
to have been. She did let me know that they had some extenuating circumstances and she couldn't find my
Right.
phone number and stuff. So I'm gonna give her another chance for that. And I have a guest coming this evening. So yeah, I should have wrapped this up a lot earlier. But
Well, that's okay.
yeah,
We're only 18 minutes over.
yeah,
Over an
it's
hour
it's
anyways.
that's
It'll be
yeah,
good.
it's not going to be that bad. So, but
And the sun is shining longer than they said it was going to.
Well, there
So,
you
oh,
go.
yeah.
There you go. So, but I will let you go, and I do appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime you want to.
Yeah.
If you
Once I figure it out on my channel, I have my own YouTube channel. I have posted
There you go.
exactly 0 videos to.
Oh no,
Our
you got
whole
to.
our podcast has a YouTube channel, but it's
Mhm.
just you can't see anything. You don't see us talking. It's off
Yeah.
air, but you can
It's
see.
like, yeah, it's just got the tip screen. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm in the middle of like four different, not counting the lives, but four different videos I've done pieces of that I'm gonna put. I haven't put up a fresh video other than a live in I don't know
Yeah,
how many
I'm
months. It's
trying to, but
crazy.
my phone is giving me fits for downloading. So I need to call one of my kids to help me because
Mine's full. I end up having to. I sync mine to OneDrive because I have a Microsoft 365 subscription. So and I have to do that for my work. But so I sync those and then erase them off my phone. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge if you're just. I mean, you can do it. We've been doing it, you know, with very minimal equipment. But man, is it a pain?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think my biggest obstacle is time.
Yes, yes.
If I didn't work, I
If
could.
all we could do was this and nothing else, but yeah, we have to clean house and cook the dinner
Yeah,
and
yeah.
fry the bacon and bring it home in a pan. Do you remember that commercial?
Yes, yes. And then I got gardens, multiple gardens and multiple properties. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got so many irons in the fire. It's amazing that I can even stand up anymore. It's just crazy between the church and my dad and this stuff and the husband and the regular stuff. It's just crazy. But
yeah,
I won't keep.
we have parents that need us too, and that definitely is that could be a whole nother conversation right
It
there.
can very well. It can and
Yeah,
maybe should. Maybe it
that's
should.
a that's such a hard age when you reach our age and your kids
Yeah,
leave home, and then suddenly
that's
your
right.
parents need you.
You get maybe 1 year of vacation with nobody, and then it's time to take care of mom and dad.
Yep, yep.
So, but anyways, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And
Thanks for
and
having
come
me.
back anytime. Volunteer yourself anytime you like.
All right, well, we'll talk to
And
you later, Robin.
okay, thank you. Bye-bye. So I'm going to wrap it up there. And I've gone over, and I do apologize to those of you who are watching, who are participating, who's going to catch this on the replay or catch this on the podcast. We did go over quite a bit, but that's all right because sometimes you just do that. And I'm very appreciative that she was able to join us. And it's open. It's open. Anybody who wants to come on, I'd be willing to have you. Willing to have you. Even news that doesn't suck. That would be good. Mike, Ronaldo, any of you guys, you're more than welcome to come on live. Just holler at me and let me know. So I'm going to close it there, and we will see you on Tuesday for a regular live. Tuesday live. It's kind of scripted, kind of not, but mostly kind of scripted. You have a great weekend too, Mike, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.